Okay, folks, this is part 2 of the prior video. Yeah, I know. You want some more treats. I know. But anyway, this is the second segment, and the first video was interrupted. Sorry about that. But anyway, I'm going to continue, and the title of this video is the first time that I realized that life was going to be very unfair, or was unfair. So like I said before, I was around 12, and I was jumping rope in my paternal grandparents' garage. And my grandparents and my parents were, on the other ends of the rope, and I was jumping, and that was one of my favorite activities, jumping rope and roller skating. But anyway, it was sometimes like I had to beg my family to actually hold the rope. And I think, like, parents today, they probably, the same reaction with their own children. I've seen a lot of parents at the mall. They're so glued to their devices, their electronic devices, their iPads, their cell phones, and the children are left in the lurch. So, the children seem to beg for the smallest crumb from their parents. And that's, I did feel that way with jumping rope, because they like to talk and they like to watch TV. But when it came to, like, me and asking for, some personal attention for me, it seems like I kind of came up short. Now, I didn't grow up feeling neglected from the whole bunch, but I did feel that it wasn't a priority to them. So, and anyway, you're only, young once, and I do feel that parents need to stop what they're doing. Put your phone down, put everything down, and tend to your children, because those children need all of your attention, and they do not need to feel when they grow up that they were cheated or that they were left out. And they shouldn't even have a memory where they felt cheated and left out, because to have one memory of that means that there were consecutive memories. It's not just one memory that's going to leave a dent in a child's brain. It's multiple and repetitive situations that parents overlook the child's needs. So anyway, but yeah, that's not actually my unfairness mantra that I'm going to I use that word again. But that's not exactly where I'm going with this video. So we were jump roping, or I was jump roping, and my grandparents had read the newspaper, probably the Dallas Times-Herald, and there was a horrible abduction case. I don't think the girls died, but a man had kidnapped 2 daughters. I think they were sisters anyway. And my parents were talking about what they read in the newspaper. And the 2 little girls were kidnapped, and the only thing I remember that was, described about the kidnapping is that the kidnapper ripped their fingernails off with pliers. And I was absolutely horrified. I was just horrified that somebody could do that. A man could, like, hurt their innocence and hurt them physically, and destroy those children's futures and trust. And that just shocked me. So it forever imprinted on me, including, being in the garage with the jump rope. Now, the other situation happened, I guess, when I was around 12 or 13, and my parents decided to get a divorce. And there was a custody battle, and it turned nasty. And I didn't feel like either parent really wanted us children. And there was 2 of us, but I really didn't feel that we were so much wanted. It felt like just a struggle or a tug of war between each parent. And it made things very, very uncomfortable. We had to spend we had to spend weekends at one parent's and weekdays at another, and it seems like you couldn't talk, you know, when you were in one parent's presence. And so, you know, that was just really, really awkward to have to deal with as a preteen. And it made school awkward. It made going to church awkward. It made day-to-day living awkward. And that was just another realization that life was going to be unfair. And then when I got a little older, you know, I realized that my parents were just not financially supportive, and they certainly could have been. And we did not grow up with financial shortcomings at all. In fact, my parents were, you know, very stable and sufficient employees and workers and that sort of thing. And we didn't grow up poor, let's put it that way. But the fact that my parents, both of them, they basically threw up their hands. They threw up their hands in the air, you know, so to speak, when it came to taking care of us after a high school graduation, and even before that, actually. So my parents were very unfinancially supportive, and you know, they went out and bought new cars. They got a new house. One parent got a new, you know, wife, and so on. So the children, me and my brother, were not a priority at all. And it was very, very conclusive with their actions. And actions speak louder than words, folks. So their actions prove that they did not, you know, have a thought for our futures. And so then a little bit later, one of my favorite relatives, she was like a great aunt, and I really, really liked her, and she was child-free. Well, anyway, she was my first relative to die in my family, or within my lifetime. Or, well, maybe not the first, but actually the most significant. And so she was like really, really cool, and I really liked her. I liked everything about her. And so she developed a cancer, and, you know, she tried treatments and radiation and then so on, and unfortunately it didn't work. And so she died about 9 months later. And, you know, she was in her late 60s, I imagine. But, you know, that was another realization. Hey there. So that was another realization that life was going to be unfair. So, yeah, the very beginning, I, you know, strongly remember that 12-year-old diANe, when she was jumping rope and she heard about those two little girls kidnapped. Well, I can actually, let's go back here. I do remember some other incidents. My brother tended to be accident prone, and he had a few like minor issues when he was a child, and he always seemed to have, well, he had some, you know, I think he had childhood asthma, and, you know, he seemed to have allergies a lot, like he needed to go for shots and things like that. And then he had an ear infection, needed some anyway, something implanted in the ear, whatever. But anyway, he, you know, he was always in the hospital, always in the doctor. And I remember spending countless hours in the ER, at doctors, you know, just sitting and waiting because of my brother's issues. And, you know, when you're a child, you know, you're more comfortable being at home or staying with a grandparent or with a babysitter. But, you know, my parents drug me to the doctor, to the ER with my brother. And, you know, I just felt like that was really unfair. I mean, my brother had more childhood issues than I did, although they were, you know, not severe at all. I mean, it's not something genetic, or it's not, you know, it's just something that happened. But, you know, things were unfair for him, and definitely things were unfair for me because I had to, you know, as a child, it was very disruptive to me, and I remember my brother vomiting a lot. Like, he would just vomit on the carpet. And one time he had a hemorrhage and he vomited blood. So I don't really know what came of that, but you know, off we go to the ER again. And one time he was carving something and the knife folded up on him and he cut his little finger almost in half. But anyway, so those are some recollections of how young I was when I realized life was unfair. So if you guys have some similar experiences, possibly some of you were even younger when you realized that life was unfair. But thank you for watching. And this little dog, this is a compulsive licking situation here. She loves to lick her sister, don't you, girl? And she doesn't like this one at all. Yeah, pretty girl.